Lu Hanyan possesses the purine body. Her cultivation speed is astonishing. If I can make her fall in love with me early on, when her cluster psychic day comes, wouldn't that be a bountiful harvest of both love and desire? Lu Hanyan suddenly realized something. Asked cautiously, "Why are you looking at me like that?" LiMu forgot that Lu Hanyan had already refined the first puh. Amazing insight. At the same time, he dispelled his previous thought. It's too embarrassing to nurture something like that. The mountain road outside the city. Li Qing stood up and asked, "Has the identity of the deceased been investigated?" Hanja asked, "It has been investigated. It's the father and son hunters in the mountains. They went hunting up in the mountains 2 days ago. This morning, the body was found by a woodcutter chopping wood. He immediately reported the case to the county yamen. It should be the work of evil creatures. But there were no traces of the creature left at the scene. How should we investigate?" LiMu suddenly realized that something was wrong. He used his heavenly eye to investigate and found that the 7 pur of the 2 corpses had already scattered. Li Qing Fox asked solemnly, "Did you find anything?" LiMu nodded and immediately recounted what he had seen with the heavenly eye and his own eyes. Immediately, Li Qing followed LiMu's instructions. Used the heavenly eye technique. She immediately exclaimed, 7 pur is indeed gone. This is not a simple monster harming people incident. First, have someone carry the body back to the yamen. Yangqiu County Yamen. Magistrate Zhang is not in the yamen today. Zhou, the constable, said as he walked, "It is common for the 3 hun to dissipate after a person dies. But the rapid dissipation of the 7 pa must be suspicious. The deaths of these 2 individuals are more likely to be man-made. As for the wounds on their bodies, they were inflicted later. The purpose was to make us think that they were killed by demons." Hanja looked at him and said, "This is a common tactic used by evil cultivation. Does Chief Zhou suspect that evil cultivation is involved?" Chief Zhou nodded. "The immortal guidance talisman cannot locate their souls. If it is indeed the work of evil cultivation, their souls may have been refined. The traces of their existence have completely disappeared. He operates in the dark while we are in the light. Unless he strikes again next time, we won't be able to grasp his movements at all. This case is troublesome." At this moment, a voice came from the doorway. "Not necessarily." Old man Wang leaned against the doorframe and said, "A person's spiritual energy doesn't dissipate so quickly. Even if a person has been refined, as long as it hasn't been long, they can still be sensed by the talisman. However, at this time, you can't use ordinary talismans." Waiting for old man Wang to finish speaking, everyone looked at Li Qing together. Chief Zhou said, "In the yamen, only you and Chief Zhang have reached the 3rd realm of cultivation. Chief Zhang is not here. We will need to rely on Miss Li Qing for the matter of the talisman. The rune symbols on this talisman are too complex. It is impossible to learn without several days of effort. By that time, I'm afraid their remaining soul power has long dissipated." Li Qing also felt some worry in her heart. She began to doubt if she could really do it. At this moment, LiMu raised his eyebrows and gestured. "You can do it, boss." Li Qing nodded without saying much. She took a few strands of their hair. "Prepare the talisman paper materials. I'll give it a try." The more complex the runes on the talisman are, the more difficult they are to carve. This is because they need to be infused with magic. If the runes are twice as complex, it will be twice as difficult. The final difficulty in making a talisman increases exponentially. But with the heart peach words, it's nothing. She picked up a pin and dipped it in cinnabar, then closed her eyes and silently recited the heart peach words. In the blink of an eye, a talisman formed in Li Qing's hands. Chief Zhou's face was full of disbelief. Hanja widened his eyes even more. As a disciple of the talisman-making faction, he knew better than anyone else how difficult the talisman he had just drawn was. How could anyone succeed on the first try? Li Qing did not offer much explanation. The talisman transformed into the shape of a paper crane and was thrown into the air. The paper crane hovered in the air, swept across in an arc, suddenly flew towards the county yamen. Zhou, the head constable, remained at the county yamen. LiMu, Li Qing, and Hanja followed the paper crane out of the county yamen. The paper crane flew for 15 minutes. Then it disappeared as it entered a tall, gated mansion. LiMu landed at the entrance of this mansion and looked up. He saw the plaque in front of the gate with 2 large golden characters that read, "Run Mansion." Hanja went forward and knocked on the door. Soon, someone impatiently stuck their head out from the Ren Mansion and asked, "What do you want?" "Wait for the shopkeeper at the Ren Mansion to get a clear look at the visitor." Immediately panic-stricken, "Sir, the last time was my fault, but you have already punished me for it. I have closed all the bookstores of the 4 Seas. How come you're here?" LiMu was a bit surprised to see the shopkeeper of the 4 Seas bookstore. "Are you the shopkeeper here?" The shopkeeper nodded repeatedly. "This is the humble home of an ordinary person. What brings the government officials to visit this time? I have been staying obediently at home these days." not even stepping out of the gate. Hanja said in a deep voice, "A serious criminal has escaped here. We will search and then discuss." After speaking, he strode into the house. The depths of the Ren mansion, in front of a separate courtyard. Hanja stood at the courtyard gate and asked, "What kind of people live here?" The shopkeeper Ren replied honestly, "It's my son. He recently paid a visit to a celestial master and has been cultivating at home ever since. The criminal should not be able to run here." At this moment, the gate was pushed open from inside. A young man walked out from the courtyard. 3 officials. Is there something wrong? The next moment, the paper crane kept spinning above the young man's head. The talisman is showing a reaction. This young man is refining the souls of the 2 victims into evil cultivation. Hanja drew his waist knife angrily. "So it's you." The young man's expression changed. He suddenly threw the black cat in his arms and retreated back into the courtyard. Hanja was about to chase in when a black shadow flashed before his eyes. Hanja only felt a sharp pain on his face. Immediately, a few bloodstains appeared. The black cat that was thrown to the ground by the young man suddenly bounced back up. If he didn't react quickly enough, his own eyes would have been clawed out by it. The black cat's claw missed, and it turned its attack towards LiMu. A flash of sword light passed in front of LiMu's eyes. The black cat let out a miserable cry as its body was split in half. LiMu expressed gratitude, saying, "Thank you very much, boss." Li Qing replied in a deep voice, "First catch the criminal." The young man stood in the courtyard and formed a hand seal. LiMu was momentarily stunned. Suddenly, everything went dark in front of his eyes. He couldn't see anything. LiMu felt no sense of security in his heart. He couldn't care less. He began to silently recite the Heart Sutra. A sudden flash of golden light appeared. Hanja was startled at first. He then asked cheerfully, "Have you become a monk? When did you become a monk? Which temple did you take refuge in? Can monks marry wives?" LiMu was a bit speechless. "What time is it already?" Still concerned about whether I have become a monk. Seeing that LiMu ignored him, Hanja reached out to Li Qing and said, "This is a formation. Everyone hold hands and stay in place. Do not move around randomly. Once separated, we may never be able to reunite." LiMu took the opportunity to hold Hanja's hand. Hanja's face showed a satisfied expression. He finally held her hand. But suddenly he noticed that something was wrong there. "Why is this hand so rough?" He turned his head and found that it was LiMu holding his hand. LiMu smiled and said, "Inspector Han, you must hold on tight." Hanja gave him a stern look, but he didn't say anything. He took out a talisman from his pocket and threw it into the air. Lightning flashed in the darkness beyond the golden light. Crackling sounds rang out. Countless thunderbolts exploded, forming a net of lightning. Li Qing pointed in a certain direction and said, "The formation eye is there. Let's make a move together." LiMu held the white E-blade and circulated his mana. Hanja's long knife also started to flicker with white light. 3 sword lights simultaneously attacked in the direction pointed by Li Qing. The array eye cracked with a sound. The darkness in front of them disappeared immediately. The 3 of them reappeared in the center of the courtyard. At the same time, a figure quickly flew over the courtyard wall and darted into the distance. Li Qing said to Hanja, "Cannot fight in the city. Don't chase too closely. Let him leave the county first to prevent him from doing harm to the people if he becomes desperate." Hanja nodded. Li Qing then said to LiMu, "Hanja and I will go chase. You stay here to gather information." After saying that, the 2 figures disappeared in an instant. Storekeeper Ren walked in looking confused. "What happened?" LiMu asked Ren, looking at him. "When did your son start cultivation? This case is of great importance. Tell me clearly and in detail. Do not conceal anything." The shopkeeper seemed to have realized something at this moment, tremblingly saying, "Over 2 months ago, Ren Yuan met a fairy while going out to play. The fairy said he is a body of wood cultivator with very high cultivation talent. Asked Ren Yuan if he would like to cultivate with him, and Ren Yuan said he would go home and tell me later. I think cultivation is not a bad thing, so I agreed." LiMu glared at him angrily and said, "Allowing Ren Yuan to cultivate through killing and seizing treasures is very likely to be evil cultivation. And he definitely doesn't have good intentions towards Ren Yuan and his body of wood." The shopkeeper's face showed a look of doubt. "It shouldn't be like this. That immortal master has real skills. I have seen him personally walk on water, ride on fire, and travel with the wind. He can even breathe out flames and disappear invisibly before my eyes." LiMu's body trembled. "What did you say? Walk on water, sit on fire, travel with the wind? Walk on water, sit on fire, ride the wind, breathe out flames. Invisible. All of these are psychic spells that can only be practiced by cultivators in the open psychic realm. Li Qing is only in the 3rd realm of cluster psychic, while Hanja has even reached the congeal Hun realm. No matter what, they are both opponents that a 3rd realm cultivator cannot stand against." LiMu didn't have time to confirm and rushed out of Ren Mansion in a hurry. running towards the direction of Liqing and Hanja. They left Yangqiu County. In the uninhabited wilderness, after running for a long time, Ren Yuan's body became extremely tired. Without looking back, he coldly said, "Until when do you plan to keep chasing?" Hanja gasped heavily. Demons and wicked individuals must be eliminated. Even if you run to the ends of the earth, you cannot escape. Ren Yuan's face was grim. He secretly crushed the jade in his hand. A white light shot out from the jade. Ren Yuan's figure also disappeared in an instant along with the white light. He took out a black command flag from his arms and threw it into the air. The command flag exploded into a black mist, enveloping towards Hanja and Liqing. In an instant, it enveloped both of them. Hanja formed hand seals with both hands, rapidly chanting under his breath. Within the black mist, lightning flashed incessantly. Ren Yuan then threw out 2 command flags, transforming into black mist once again, enveloping the 2 individuals. Within the black mist, Liqing solemnly spoke. He is trying to delay time. This person may have a cultivation level of cluster psychic realm, but it seems he doesn't know much about Taoist methods. Don't delay any longer. The lightning flashes again in the black mist. Occasionally, Hanja's angry shouts can be heard. After a while, the black mist disperses. Liqing took the opportunity to draw his sword and rushed forward. But at this moment, a figure shrouded in a black robe appeared. Standing quietly behind Ren Yuan, Liqing raised an eyebrow in confusion. Another one came. Who are you? Ren Yuan turned around to see the man in black robe. Excitement flashed across his face. Master, kill them. I want to devour their hunpo. The man in black didn't say anything. He just grinned, and Liqing swung his sword at him. The man in black dodged to the side. With a light punch, he sent her flying. Liqing was startled. The man in the black robe punched at a speed too fast for her to react at all. At this moment, Hanja angrily shouted, "Miss Liqing, step aside." After saying that, he clasped his hands together, intertwining his 10 fingers to form a hand seal. Suddenly, an old man's phantom appeared behind Hanja. After the old man pinched a sword tactic with one hand, he gently waved his hand at the man in the black robe. An invisible sword energy appeared out of thin air. The man in the black robe crossed his arms to resist the invisible sword energy. He backed away for more than 10 meters before stopping. The heritage of the talisman-making faction is indeed profound. This magical power has already touched the edge of Taoism spell. Unfortunately, Hanja's face looks unsightly. His heart has long sunk. This magical power is the most powerful move he can perform. Enough to kill the 3rd realm of demons. But the evil cultivation in front of him has already reached the 4th realm in strength. The gap in magical power cannot even be compensated by Taoism spell. Seeing Hanja's move of open psychic fail, Liqing decisively shouted, "Retreat. We are not his opponents." At this time, LiMu also finally arrived. Hanja said in a deep voice, "Why did you come?" LiMu said, "I came to remind you that this person is at the open psychic level." Liqing interrupted him directly, saying, "I already know." After speaking, he threw a talisman to LiMu. "Put on the divine movement talisman. Let's go quickly." LiMu hesitated and immediately put the divine movement talisman on himself. At the same time, he also enhanced his magic power to the extreme. He was pleasantly surprised to find that this talisman was indeed effective. The man in the black robe grinned wickedly. "Can you escape?" It was only seen that the man in the black robe was tightly chasing after them, holding Ren Yuan. They were even faster than them using the blink talisman. LiMu made up his mind decisively and said in a deep voice, "This won't work. Let's split up and run." After speaking, he formed a seal in his hand. With a loud bang, a thunderbolt struck down from the sky and split in front of the cloaked figure. Although this strike did not hit him, but it also made his figure stop. The man in the black robe did not think for long before choosing to chase in LiMu's direction. Liqing felt the disappearance of the black-robed figure's presence. His expression changed, and he said, "You go back to the county office first. I will go after LiMu. LiMu is running fast. I feel the rapidly approaching breath behind me. I fully activate my magic power, and my speed increases again." Liqing and the others fled into the city. LiMu, however, moved away from the county town. This evil cultivation should know who to chase as long as they are not stupid. So he chose the direction towards Baishui Water Bay. Soon, LiMu stopped by the river and stood there.
Geen nicht.
"There's no road ahead. Where else can you run to? Jump into the lake? I'll finish you off first." The remaining 2 guards can't run away either. It's their own fault for meddling. LiMu was extremely anxious. "Sister Sue, please come quickly." Just then, a white mist rose above the water in front of them. The fog spread very quickly. Soon it had spread dozens of yards in all directions. Nothing could be seen within a range of 1 yard ahead. Suer's figure appeared out of nowhere beside LiMu. Looking in the direction of the figure in the black robe shrouded in mist, he asked, "What's going on?" LiMu explained, "I encountered an open psychic from the evil cultivation. It was not easy for me to escape here. Can you defeat the open psychic level?" Suer nodded. "Don't worry. Leave it to me." LiMu still had some concerns. "This person is very strong. You must be careful." Suer snorted coldly. His figure instantly disappeared into the mist. In the mist, a fair hand attacked the back heart of the cloaked figure. The cloaked figure suddenly dodged sideways. The voice hoarsely said, "Turns out it was a ghostly creature." Suer coldly snorted. "You are the ghostly creature. Your whole family are ghostly creatures." As the words fell, countless green threads suddenly shot out from the white mist. Like steel needles, they pierced toward the bodies of the man in black and Rin Yuan. The man in the black robe waved his sleeve. The black robe connected into one, becoming as hard as iron. The blue silk could not penetrate. At this moment, the man in the black robe snapped his fingers. A ball of fire appeared out of thin air. Upon touching the blue silk, it immediately burst into flames. Suer frowned. "This is the true fire of 3 realms." The man in the black robe chuckled. "Feel free to use any other moves you have." Suer's figure drifted out, holding 2 bone swords in her hands. She stabbed straight toward the man in the black robe. The man in the black robe flicked his left hand. A white glow appeared in her hand. The white glow was extremely sharp. It clashed with the bone sword several times. Several gaps had already appeared on the bodies of the 2 bone swords. LiMu only saw the intense rolling of white mist ahead. Occasionally, there was the sound of clashing of gold and iron. After a moment, the mist in front of him suddenly disappeared. LiMu only saw Suer's figure flying back. LiMu quickly rushed forward to support her. "Are you okay?" Suer's face changed to an unprecedented seriousness. "He is not an ordinary open psychic realm. Much more powerful than that monk. And there are multiple open psychics to counter me." LiMu's face changed. "What should we do? It seems the 2 of us together are no match for him." Suer frowned. Himself is a spiritual body. Thinking of this, he directly turned into a wisp of white mist and entered his body. At the same time, LiMu heard Suer's voice in his mind. "Give me control of your body first. Do not resist." Suer controls LiMu's body and performs a complex spell. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning descends upon the top of the figure in a black robe. The lightning strikes incredibly fast. The figure in the black robe does not dodge. But after the lightning strikes, there is no change in his body. Suer controlled LiMu's body and grabbed White E, flying forward. Engaged in a face-to-face battle with the black-robed man, however, the black-robed man was still adept at using the knife in close combat. After a brief clash, LiMu's shoulder was accidentally injured by the sword energy of the black-robed man. Although this person's cultivation level is only open psychic, he is definitely not a cultivator at the open psychic level. Perhaps he is just 1 step away from blessing. Or perhaps he is already at the 5th blessing level, but his cultivation has fallen. This person is unbeatable for us. I can only do my best to protect you. LiMu is using the heavenly eye. I see resentment and sinister chi swirling around Rin Yuan. The black-robed person, on the other hand, remains as calm as a still pond. Although Suer's magical power cannot be fully borrowed by LiMu, it is enough to allow his strength to approach the 4th realm limitlessly. Even so, he still couldn't see through the black-robed figure. LiMu suddenly paused. Wait, the power he can now wield is no weaker than a 3rd-level cluster psychic if Suer releases the power for him to use. Then his current cultivation level must be at the 4th open psychic realm. Isn't it much weaker than that man in the black robe? He wants to let this man in the black robe know what true cruelty is. LiMu doesn't know how to transmit sound to Suer. Speak directly. Sister Su, release all your magic powers. I will control the body. Suher asked, "What do you want to do?" LiMu replied vaguely, "You will know in a moment. If the situation doesn't feel right, you can take back control of your body." Suer didn't respond. LiMu, however, felt that he had regained control of his body. He looked at the figure in the black robe. Handheld 6-ding jade female seal silently said, "Arrive." Suddenly, a burst of roaring came from the void. Countless thunderbolts suddenly descended from the top of the figure in the black robe. When the thunder dissipated, the figure in the black robe stood tremblingly. LiMu changed to another hand seal and silently said, "Weapon." The whitey sword automatically unsheathed. In an instant, it turned into a stream of light and appeared above the black mist. The sword hummed, and countless sword lights intersected in the air, slashing towards the black mist. After a moment, the black-robed man with a slightly wolf-like appearance stood in place and said coldly, "This little ability is not enough. How can a mere sword hurt me?" LiMu's face darkened, finally realizing the difficulty of dealing with this cloaked figure. The technique of qi suppression is also a profound skill of the Taoist tradition. After achieving mastery, the physical body can suppress water, fire, demons, evil spirits, and ghosts. When you reach the highest level of cultivation, treasures cannot harm you when cut and cannot pierce you when stabbed. LiMu's hand seals changed once again. Forbidding any sound, he recited, "The universe is limitless, borrowing the power of heaven and earth. The power comes from the heart, endlessly born." Hurry up, as if giving an order. This spell that he had never been able to finish in the past was successfully completed this time. At the same time, a mysterious feeling suddenly arose in his heart. After a sword cry, the white E-sword turned into 2. 2 becomes 4. 4 becomes 8. In an instant, they transformed into countless sword shadows filling the sky, neatly arranged behind LiMu. A solemn expression finally appeared on the face of the black-robed figure. Could this be the power of heaven and earth? LiMu looked at the black-robed figure and asked, "Is this enough?" He pointed with a finger at the dense and countless sword shadows. Immediately shot towards the black-robed man with the power to destroy everything. The black-robed man no longer had the calmness he had just now. His primordial spirit turned into a stream of light and quickly retreated into the distance. LiMu waved his hand. Control the sword rain to attack the primordial spirit of the black-robed man. The primordial spirit had just escaped not far away when the sword shadows from behind arrived in an instant. The sword splits the primordial spirit. It disintegrates into a cluster of light spots that slowly dissipate. The battle ends in an instant. Suer's figure walks out of LiMu's body. "How many secrets do you have left on you?" LiMu asks, smiling apologetically. "I'll tell you later," Suer doesn't pursue. Glancing in the direction where the black-robed man was killed, he frowned. That black-robed man was only one step away from Blessing Realm. This time, we are truly in a life-and-death situation. There are other things on LiMu's mind. Looking at Suer, he said, "Sister Sue, try hitting me again." Suer didn't say anything. Step forward again and re-enter LiMu's body. Once again, feel the majestic magical power surging in the body. LiMu slowly closed his eyes, formed hand seals with both hands, and silently said, "The Tao." LiMu suddenly felt a sense of emptiness in his body. Suer's figure appeared in front of him again, looking at him with a frightened expression, and asked, "What's wrong? What kind of sorcery is this?" Suer patted her full chest, still feeling lingering fear, and said, "If you had continued chanting just now, my soul might have scattered directly." LiMu's expression changed slightly.
I'm sorry.
"I almost caused harm to you. I didn't expect that even at the 4th level of cultivation, I couldn't perform this Taoism spell." Suer said in a deep voice, "If this technique is successfully activated, I don't know how powerful it will be. Forcing activation will result in backlash. You must never try it easily in the future." LiMu nodded. "I understand." Suer suppressed the turmoil in his heart and looked at the unconscious Ren Yuan, asking, "What do you want to do with this person?" After thinking for a moment, LiMu said, "First, abolish his cultivation level, then bring him back to the Yamen for trial." LiMu carried Ren Yuan and headed towards Yangqiu County. He sighed all the way along the road. Unfortunately, Suer cannot leave Baishui Water Bay. Otherwise, if you merge with her, you can unleash a power far beyond the 4th realm. At this moment, Li Qing finally found LiMu. "Finally found you. Are you okay? What about evil cultivation?" LiMu dropped the Ren Yuan on his shoulder, took a breath and said, "Evil cultivation was chasing me just now. Fortunately, a righteous cultivation practitioner happened to pass by. That person killed evil cultivation, and I didn't do anything at all." Suddenly Li Qing's face darkened. "Who let you take matters into your own hands just now?" LiMu saw her angry for the first time. A bit scary. He stammered a bit as he spoke. Soon the two of them returned to the county government office. Old Man Wang said as he recorded the case, "Your luck is really good, young man. Actually managed to escape from the hands of the evil cultivation sect from the open psychic realm. However, you may have escaped from one trouble, but you cannot escape from another." LiMu's scalp tingled a bit. He stared blankly at the cold-faced Li Qing. LiMu hesitated for a moment, and then said solemnly, "Boss, I know I was wrong." Li Qing snorted coldly. "What have you done wrong?" LiMu sighed sorrowfully. "I shouldn't have acted on my own and ran away from you without your permission." Li Qing is unrelenting. "Do you think that consolidating the 3 is already very powerful? It can contend with evil cultivation at the level of open psychic." LiMu raised his eyebrows and shook his head. Li Qing continued coldly, "Then why are you the one leading him away?" LiMu scratched his head, feeling somewhat dissatisfied. "But what if I were the leader? What would you do?" Li Qing snorted coldly again. "Are you the boss or am I the boss? When is it your turn to ask me?" LiMu rubbed her shoulders gently and humbly for forgiveness. "You are," Li Qing said. "As long as you know." LiMu wants to struggle a little more. The situation at that time, escaping together was a dead end. Run separately. The other side only had a chance to survive. I believe my choice was not wrong. Li Qing turned her head angrily. So you gave up the chance to survive for me? How can you not cherish yourself like this? LiMu sighed and said, my life was saved by the head. When cultivating, the head introduced me to the sect. Even the white e-sword was given by the head. If I encounter danger, I won't care about the head and will run away on my own. Then, am I still a human? If there can only be one person between me and the head who survives, I will definitely give the chance to survive to you without hesitation. Li Qing was stunned by his heartfelt confession. A faint blush unknowingly appeared on her pretty face. Li Qing turned her head away and said irritably, in the future, without my permission, you are not allowed to act without authorization. Otherwise, I won't have you as my subordinate. LiMu noticed the situation, knowing that he finally passed the test. Flattering girls is indeed a troublesome matter. LiMu immediately flattered again. I will listen to my boss in the future. If the boss tells me to go east, I will never go west. If the boss tells me to beat a dog, I will do it. I will never go steal chickens. Hanja outside the door listened to the conversation between the two people, feeling a mix of emotions in his heart. He couldn't help but spit out in disgust, shameless. At this moment, LiMu walked out from the guardhouse. Hanja immediately set his sights on him. Bowing and scraping to women like that. Are you still a man? LiMu said indifferently. A real man can be flexible. Only knowing how to charge forward blindly with one's neck stretched out is called recklessness. Hanja countered sharply. You saved me once today. I won't hold it against you. When I save you in the future, we will consider it even. LiMu doesn't care. Just a small matter. Captain Han doesn't need to worry about it. I have to go to the prison. I'm leaving first. Hanja gritted his teeth, talking about strength and status. In the end, where is he worse off than him? Why does Miss Li Qing treat him so well? The female shopkeeper at Union Pavilion also flirts with him. At this moment, a constable passes by. Hanja immediately called out to him. Come over here. I have something to ask you, said the constable. Boss, you say it. I will definitely answer honestly, Hanja asked. I am familiar with LiMu. Are we close or just acquaintances? The bailiff smiled awkwardly. Boss, please don't joke around. The prison cell is this way. Li Qing said that Taoist often takes Ren Yuan with the body of wood into the deep mountains to hunt demons and collect treasures. Ren Yuan was asked to refine the 7 pu'er within half a month. When there were no more demons to use during the smelting process, Ren Yuan turned his black hands towards the common people. LiMu was somewhat shocked. If people were all killed by Ren Yuan, although the man in black is guilty, he should not be sentenced to death. But what if the man in black did not harm anyone? What if I have killed the wrong person? Li Qing saw that his expression was not right. He asked, LiMu, what's wrong with you? There's a surge of magical power fluctuation. Is it the heart devil? Li Qing asked with concern. LiMu, what are you thinking about?
LiMu looked listless.
The person in the black robe, Ren Yuan's master. He did not kill anyone. Hanja said in a displeased tone. Did you just give birth to a heart devil because of this? Li Qing was also somewhat surprised. That man in the black robe can cultivate Ren Yuan. He must also be practicing evil cultivation himself. He deserves to die. No need to pity him. During the cultivation process, the heart devil can infiltrate every crack. If you can't control the heart devil, the cultivation will become even more difficult in the future. It may even fall into evil cultivation. As she spoke, she pulled LiMu's hand and said, Come with me back to the room. I will help you calm your power. At this time, Hanja stopped her. Wait, Miss Li Qing, you go rest. Let me help him calm down. My power has recovered. Li Qing rejected his proposal. He is my subordinate. I'll do it myself. Hanja stood frozen in place. The more he thought about it, the more uncomfortable he felt. If they continued like this, they would only become closer and closer. Need to think of a way to get LiMu away from Miss Li Qing's side. Value the scene in the room. Li Qing helped him calm his magical powers while comforting him, saying, The path of cultivation is extremely difficult. Heart devils often arise. You must be careful yourself. After half an hour, Li Qing took a deep breath. Okay, it's almost done.
LiMu expressed gratitude.
Thank you, boss. I feel much better now.
Li Qing nudda.
You taught me heart peach words. You should often recite it yourself in your daily life, said LiMu. The slightest doubt is then amplified infinitely by it, even affecting the basic judgment. This heart devil is really... At this moment, Hanja threw a pill over. Then, this is the power I've collected for hunting demons over the past few months. You saved me once. Consider this as me repaying the favor to you. LiMu smiled and said, Thanks, Captain Han. Hanja shrugged. You're welcome. Make sure you cultivate well. Strive to congeal the Hun as soon as possible, he added in his mind after saying. As long as you congeal the soul, you can immediately be promoted to a detective and no longer have to follow Miss Li Qing. In the evening, when LiMu returned home from his shift, he happened to see Wanwan dancing and saying something excitedly at the door. How adorable. Let me give you a hug. LiMu was speechless. Wanwan has a fearless personality. Even if she encounters a ghost, she wouldn't be scared. It's better to temporarily shield her natural spirit eyes. Thinking of this, LiMu said, Wanwan, when your lady comes over, we'll have hot pot tonight. Wanwan's eyes immediately lit up. His mouth also watered. At this moment, LiMu smiled and said, Wanwan, close your eyes first. Wanwan was a bit confused. Why do I need to close my eyes? She asked. But suddenly she figured something out. Her little face turned red instantly. However, with an expectant look on her face, she obediently closed her eyes. LiMu's fingers moved with magical power, tinkering in front of Wanwan for a few moments. Then he said, You can open your eyes now. Wanwan opened his eyes. His expression looked a little disappointed. He muttered softly, But we haven't kissed yet. At this moment, Lu Hanyin walked over and asked, Kiss what? I am still waiting to cook. What are you guys up to here? LiMu felt a bit embarrassed. When did Miss Lu come out? Soon, LiMu's family set up a hot pot. Wanwan carefully distributed the cooked slices of meat to them. LiMu picked up a slice of meat and put it back into Wanwan's bowl. You can have them all. I like to eat tofu, Lu Hanyin said unfriendly. Eat less meat. Be careful not to become a big fat person. You won't be able to get married in the future, LiMu said. Wanwan is different from you. She has been eating like this for a long time and doesn't get fat, Lu Hanyin said with a snort. You just keep protecting her. Will you be responsible if she can't get married later? LiMu asked in confusion. Is Wanwan not suitable to get married with you? How could she not be able to get married? Lu Hanyin asked vigilantly. Why would Wanwan marry me? Why do you think I would marry Wanwan? LiMu chuckled awkwardly. I guessed. Lu Hanyin snorted coldly. Is there anything wrong with being single? How do I know if the person I marry is after my money? LiMu felt that he couldn't continue the conversation. Putting down his chopsticks, he said, I'm full. You guys continue. After LiMu left, Lu Hanyin said to Wanwan, Wait for another 2 years. How about I marry you to LiMu? Wanwan smiled. Miss, really? Lu Hanyin was a little surprised.